Arcelain. Arcelain's like our baby. It's like our baby. When we started getting more aggressive with the direct import program here at the store, we hooked up with a couple very fine sources, some insiders based in Burgundy, as we all do. We all have our insider friends based in Burgundy that know the up-and-comers, the cool kids, whatever. And you know what was funny is when we went to Burgundy, we went foraging for older wines, as you know, at first. You know, we have a pretty extensive older Burgundy program. Well, it doesn't look terribly extensive now because we sell all of our older Burgundy, so it's kind of weird. Trust us, we do get a lot of it, but it tends to go out the door just as fast as it came in. That being said, one of the first domains that our source hooked us up with when we took our initial trips to Burgundy, well, about a decade ago, was Michel Arcelain. And this was the classic, small, quiet family domain in the village of Pommard, located right on the end of the village, on the upper part of the village. And I remember driving up to it. Of course, there's no place to park, and you know, you're doing the whole thing. Can we park here? Is it okay? And the dog's barking and stuff, and this sort of deal. But when we sat down for a tasting with them, they were just the nicest people. Pierre and Charlotte, super young at the time. Pierre's grandfather was, you know, basically running the domain, but Pierre was doing a bit of the heavy lifting and going to wine school at the time. And we had a wonderful conversation with them. They were really sweet, and Michel was really nice. He's a super nice guy. And we hit it off, and we bought a bunch of older wine from them that was all perfectly stored, gorgeous stuff. You'll see the pictures in the email offer. A really beautiful, like small, quaint cellar. So anyway, Michel unfortunately passed away, and we moved forward with the younger generation, the next generation. So when we went in 2021 to look at some older vintages again and do another buying trip, we couldn't help noticing the 2020s in the cellar. And at the time, we knew 2020 was already a unique, special vintage, a warmer year, big year, powerful year, where some of these Pinots almost have like a Syrah-like density to them. Pretty crazy year, but I'll tell you what, a damn fun year to sell because of the power, richness, and accessibility of the wines. Call them what you want, cab drinkers, Pinot Noirs, etc., whatever your name is. These wines were wonderfully hedonistic, beautiful, dark, inky, joyous wines. So we asked them, hey, can we taste some barrels? And we rifled through the barrels, and we went like, what? I mean, the kids are all right. I mean, the barrel stuff was amazing. So not only did we do older wine business there, as we usually do, we also did a bunch of fresh wine business there, and we were more than happy to bring the 2020s into the market. So here you go. This is the next generation at Arcelain. Now, this vineyard is very special, even though it's what they call a Beaudier. It's a basic village level vineyard, but it's not so basic. This is the Clos Beaudier. And a Clos in France, you know, by law kind of has, or at one time had a wall around it, completely walled. This one is a hardcore walled Clos, and it is literally next door to the domain. It is the backyard of the domain, if you will, right on the edge of Pommard village. And its neighbors are vineyards like Rougienne, which is in the running for Grand Cru, right? So Pommard, Rougienne, Pommard, Epinot, and Grand Epinot, these are vineyards that at some point may achieve Grand Cru status, which is really special, awesome. So the deal is Clos Beaudier is one of the little village vineyards right next to a potential Grand Cru, a great Premier Cru, Rougienne. The vines here are about 80 years old, approximately, and the wine is just exquisite. So let's have a look at the 20 Clos Beaudier. Yeah. You know, here's the deal, and this is pretty consistent. The 20s were super intense from barrel, super inky, super wild and rich and dark. Now, the wines are becoming actually more Burgundian post-bottling. The pinocité of the wines is getting stronger. These wines are starting to vibe more black cherry instead of almost blackberry from barrel. I mean, these wines were almost like Syrah-like in barrel, and now the cherry character of the Pinot Noir is starting to come to the fore. It is a rich, beautiful, luxurious, joyous vintage, especially in Pommard. One of the funny things with Pommard is, Pommard to me was always like the Nuit Saint George of the South. You know, Nuit Saint George wines have that real kind of minerally, almost astringency to them, and quite frankly, the Pommard wines did too. You know, powerful wines requiring extensive bottle age, but climate change, such as it is creating a scenario where Pommards sometimes are almost tasting Cortone-y, if that makes sense. So for you Burgundy nerds out there, these wines are feeling almost more like Los Cortone or the Hill of Cortone in a lot of cases. And this wine, just tasting it right now, to me is like vibing further north, like Cortone, a Los Cortone. This wine has a wonderful, deep, rich, dark red cherry character to it, wonderful spice. It has the minerals of Pommard, but none of the astringency. The tannins here are super fine, like fondue, as they say, you know, that melty tannin that just and you can just drink buckets of this stuff. So what we saw in barrel, we're happy to report, has gotten in the bottle at least as good, if not better, than what we tasted from barrel at their tiny domain. Now, when I say tiny, I forgot to mention this. Basically, they make 10 different wines. Okay, so 10 different Ludi, including Bon Clos de Mouche, which we sell, and fabulous Bon Cicerpe, which is a non-premier cru further up the hill. And they make 10 wines. Their total production, I think, is it's less than 200 cases per wine. They make 2,000 cases between 10 wines. That's insane. It's like 200 cases per wine. It's like 6 barrels, 7 barrels of this, 4 barrels of this, 8 barrels of that. These are the production numbers we're talking here. So this is not a large domain by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually quite teeny tiny. And what a pleasure to have the wines. And here's to the Arcelains, and here's to a beautiful future with them. Oh, by the way, the price, ridiculous, $39.98 on our direct import. They get a single vineyard, old vine Pommard, next door to Rougian from a great producer in a great year at this price is, as usual, ridiculous, but we're WineX. We tend to do ridiculous around here. So, cheers. I think you're gonna like it. I do.